Are you ready to be in the spotlight? Are you ready to share your story with the world? Well, Snails with No Shells is where you need to be. Available on all digital platforms, Facebook, and YouTube. Snails with No Shells. Leave that shell at the door. Greetings, beautiful ones. I am Ms. BJ Martin, and this is Snails with No Shells. Leave that shell at the door. That's my only rule in this room. All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. I have an amazing guest coming to the stage. She's beautiful, talented, very intellectual, just all the ingredients. We call it a TP, a total package. Let's bring her to the stage. Dr. Angela Harden.
Woo! Hey, Miss BJ. I'm so excited to be here. Woo!
Yes, me too. Thank you for being on Snails with No Shells. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite. It's always nice when you can hang out with the queens and the powerhouses like yourself. I tell you, thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Now let's get into it, Dr. Angela. Dr. Angela Harden Mack, MD. Do not play with her. Okay. she is a women's empowerment coach, international keynote speaker, manifestation expert. I love that. And best-selling author. She has captivated national and international audiences with empowering messages of abundance, wellness, and great living. Her unique skill set as a physician, okay, speaker, coach, author, and Bible teacher has equipped her for a career inspiring and empowering people far more than 25 years. And that's just a little bit. That's just a little bit of her bio. I'll put it in the in the comments, and you can read it yourself. Oh, that's amazing! Great. Okay, so Dr. Angela, where were you born and raised?
Yes, I was born and raised in a small city called Highland Park, Michigan. It's actually within the city of Detroit. So Detroit is unique in that there are two cities, Hamtramck and Highland Park, that are separate cities right within Detroit. So born and raised there. My older siblings, graduated high school there. My dad. So we have some pretty deep roots in Highland Park, Michigan.
Highland Park, Michigan. I love it. I love it. But the winters, it's freezing up there.
Yep. So Michigan, like Illinois, we get some pretty cold. Not as much as Wisconsin and not as much as Minnesota, but definitely the snow and the cold. But I grew up with it, so we know how to bundle up. You
Yeah.
get the snow gear on, and you just go and do your thing.
Awesome. So what was it like? Next question. What was it like growing up there?
It was absolutely beautiful. So much so, like I said, a lot of the people that I was raised with, we no longer stay in the city. A lot of
Mm.
people are like have moved to Detroit or the suburbs, but it was such a tight knit community that we still maintain contact. Just like at the end of this month, my classmates, we're all gathering together to hang out. We still do class reunions. We did the 5, 10, 15 year and everything. So it was a tight knit community. Again, multiple generations lived there. I grew up in that time was like it took a village. So,
Absolutely.
your neighbors did this. We knew who our neighbors were. We knew this was, Mr. Jones or Miss Jones, and we looked out for one another. So I enjoyed the experience and would say if you have the opportunity for people, especially if you're raising children, if you have the opportunity to live in a community like that, it is beautiful.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Okay, so next question. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Woo! I wanted to be a doctor, and I am literally living my dream, living my great life as a doctor. I was 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
when that dream was birthed. So my parents encouraged me and said, "You can do it," and I stuck to it. I stuck to it. So it's
And
so
so what were you
exciting.
doing? Yeah, that is. So
Mhm.
what at 10 do you remember like what were you doing? Certain things that you were doing when you were 10?
I did. So, and again, this story, my mom is a significant part of it. I say I'm the first doctor in the family, but my mom is the original healer. I mean, I kid you not.
Mm-hmm.
Mama was, we call her mom, she's big mom and granny to the grandkids. But my mother was a woman ahead of her time. She was doing vegetarian meals when I was like in elementary school. Now, I come from humble beginnings. It wasn't like we all had these graduate degrees and everything. These were things that we aspired to. But when I said I very humble beginnings, that was the case. So we were having vegetarian meals. We stopped eating wheat bread. I mean, white bread. Everybody else was still eating Wonder Bread. And I was sometimes crying because Mama sent me to school with wheat bread. I kid you not. We literally thought my mother lost it when she said we were going to have like meatless meals. Now, mind you, we didn't have meat every night to begin with, but it was like a couple of vegetables. We were like, what is going on? So Mama had this book called Garden of Eden where she was reading about vitamins and reading about
Mm.
nutrients way back when. She also had this medical book. I don't know where it is now, but it was a medical book about this thick. And in the middle, it had maybe like 10 or so pages of these colored monographs. And one was a picture of a pregnant woman, and you could see it from the side view. You saw the baby in the
Mm-hmm.
uterus, and then you saw the red for the arteries and the blood vessel. When I opened that book up, there was something about that picture that captivated me. And I looked and like, I want to take care of babies. I want to be a doctor because initially my goal was I wanted to be an obstetrician. I wanted to, but in medicine, catch babies, but I wanted to birth babies. And so at 10 years old, looking in that medical book, my mother was the healer in the family. That was my inspiration. It captivated me. And so I, continued to build. And my parents told me I could be anything I wanted to be, and I believed them. So
Yeah.
that started it all for me.
Wow. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Wow. And see, you just never know. Like, as a child, what can inspire you and how
Mhm.
important your part our parents play in our lives, or just it's just adults. How it's so important to when you see a child interested in something that pay attention and you add on to that and say, well, maybe that's something that they want to do.
Mhm.
I love
Mhm.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. And so, how long were you in school to become a physician?
So graduated at 18 and did the 4.5 years of college and then 4 years of medical school and then residency. So residency is that period of time. Once you graduate medical school, you are an MD, you are a physician, then we have to spend a certain number of years in that specialty learning under senior doctors. And so the number of years will vary depending on what the specialty is. I have this really exciting idea I want to do too. So I actually trained as an internal medicine doctor. So internists treat adults, and then also pediatrics. So pediatrician, I did a combined program. So that's a 4 year program compared to the three for either internal medicine or pediatrics. And then in the midst of there, I had like a baby. So because of maternity leave and some others, it was a little bit longer. And also my first child was born the last day of medical school. The
Oh,
last
Dr. Andrew, you have so many memories and just, oh, wow, I love that.
Yeah. So it took
That's
me because of that. It took me a little bit longer because I was able to. I graduated in June, and I
Mhm.
was able to delay the start of my residency instead of in July with everyone else. I started in January. So that time and some other time, I was able to take like a month or two here or there. My program actually took a little bit longer, but I tell you, I'm so glad I had that opportunity. Would not trade it for the world. So it was pretty
Yes.
exciting.
I love that. I love that. Wow. So your dream came true. That is amazing. That's amazing. Because I always ask people, like, what did you want to be? And for the most part, I hear a lot. I've heard teacher and I've heard nurse. I even heard astronaut. And I even
Mm.
heard a sniper.
I
That's a
think that would be an interesting job.
yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's amazing. So okay, let's get into so you're a physician, you're this amazing doctor, and now you're getting into empowering women. This is an empowerment coach. Would that be like the order? Would it be the empowerment coach and then the author? Or
Um, Actually, they kind of happen at the same time.
okay,
Definitely the physician came first, and so what I share with people, when we think about medicine, right? We think about doctors. We think, oh, it's just all healthcare, right? We go in, we say this is your diagnosis, and take this medicine, or we recommend surgery, what have you. But there's empowerment that takes place each and every time a physician is engaging with a patient. It's going to look different for each, patient visit, depending on what the patient's needs are. It's going to depend on the age. How complex or simple is that a patient's history? For someone who's straightforward, when I was in primary care, the patient would come in, doc, I got a sore throat, I have a cough. It may be very easy. It could be, strep throat. It could be this, could be ear infection, do the exam and treat it. But
right,
when an individual has family history that plays a part, maybe it's diabetes that may, run in families, when there are multiple conditions, present, someone may have diabetes, high blood pressure, etc., then that's going to be a more involved visit. And we talk about more lifestyle education.
right,
And when we talk about the length of time an individual has a condition, then we start to talk about quality of life. It's always present, but that's when we even more, those are opportunities for us as physicians to talk about quality of life because of the psychosocial aspect of
okay,
it. So, like I said, to have a sore throat that goes away in a couple of days, that's very different compared to having maybe diabetes that may
mhm,
be difficult for us to treat, right? We have a patient on a couple medications or an individual, especially with diabetes for a long period of time. Maybe
right,
the kidney is now impacted. Maybe there's some things going on with the vision. Maybe that individual has decreased sensation in the legs or is beginning to have that tingling sensation. So, like, I'm in pain a lot. I
right,
can't stand on my feet. There are only certain activities I can do because of that. So empowering the patient, listening to the patient, what are your needs, what are your concerns, and then presenting that information in a way that's user friendly. And that's one of the fun things I really enjoy doing is listening to and then helping that patient understand something that's very complex. So as I'm, in my early part of my career as a, young lady doc, talking and teaching and treating patients, but also as because most of my patients were women, they have been women, that
yeah,
as I'm getting to know them and they're sharing with me and we're talking about quality of life and we're talking about psychosocial, then I get to know them, their jobs, their career aspirations. And sometimes it's about, they have to navigate their, jobs and careers, whether it's the lady who may be the cashier, right? It may be the middle manager. It may be the VP of X, Y, and Z. I've, treated patients of all walks of life. You can't separate the physical part of who we are from those other parts. And so
mhm,
that came into it. And then I started a women's empowerment circle about, I guess, 12 years ago. And it was called Ladies Living Large, where I gathered ladies together. This before all the social media things. That's when we had the 1-800 number for the call, the
right,
teleconference.
right,
And it was called Ladies Living Large. It was a money circle. So I met with the ladies probably, I think, about 8 or 10 weeks. We had a particular book. And so we talked about things. We came together. We had exercises and then things that I did in church as well. So, like I said, I've been doing this for a number of years, different ways and different activities, but really looking to help women identify who are you. Are you familiar with your purpose and have you discovered your gifts and your genius, and then helping them to put this all together to show up to be awesome. So it's been pretty cool.
wow. I'm in total awe. This is why I love doing these interviews. I'm telling you, I am in total awe. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
amazing because I would never put the two together, but I see how they're definitely connected. I love
Yeah,
that. And I love
yeah.
when women empower women. We need that so much today.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so let's get into your book. Let's
Okay.
get into your book. Let me show, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you the book, the name of the book. Picture Your Great Life. 21 Principles and 21 Reflections for Great Living. This is the cover of the book. This is the book we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Picture Your Great Life. I love it, love it, love it. So let's get into it.
Yes.
Yes, let's talk about the book. What is this book about?
Okay. Well, the inspiration from this book, many times there's a story behind
Right.
things. And so
Yes.
my story is, and the second part of that is that it's a handbook that teaches about creative visualization, which is a process where we learn how important that vision is. And that's why I was all picture your great life. So at 10 years old, I had the dream to become a doctor. And so I was on this path, right, going to college. And at age 15, and the summer after my first year of high school, I got my first job, summer job, and I worked in a hospital. So after orientation, we leave the auditorium and we're in the lobby. And I'm standing there and I'm watching the doctors in their white coats walk by, right? Group,
Mm.
then another group, and another group. And I stood there and I said, that's me. I'm
Mhm.
going to be a doctor. I'm going to have my white coat. And so that image, me as a 15-year-old girl, again, humble beginnings, right? We didn't have a car sometimes. We were on food stamps sometimes. And when I say humble beginnings, I'm in the hospital lobby watching people walk by in their white coats. And I had this image and this vision. I kept that image in my mind. So
Mhm.
about 15 years later, 10 to 15 years later, I'm back in that same hospital because I trained. I went to train where I was born and raised. I'm in that same hospital and I'm in that same spot basically. And I said in my white coat, here I am, Dr. Angela Harden Mack. I'm here. Thank you, God. So the vision is so important and the vision is powerful. A lot of people are familiar with the vision boards. We probably have done 10,
Right.
if not 20, in our
Mhm.
lives. And I definitely say for people, yes, get that vision. And there's some different things we can do with that vision and vision board. So this is part of what, again, I'm capturing here, encouraging people, get a picture of your great life. And this will help inspire you. It will motivate you. And we definitely need that motivation when
Yes.
we're tested, when we're challenged. And when the waiting period is there, that's when you have that vision and you can say, okay, that will keep you and help you to endure. So that's, again, my story that inspired me with this topic.
That is awesome. And speaking of challenges, were there any challenges, during the period when you were, let's go back to just being, trying to become a physician? Were there any challenges for you?
Yes.
And especially being a melanated woman as well.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why women's empowerment is my passion. So women, from the dawn of time, women have not always been seen as equal citizens or on the same footing as men from the beginning. And so that's still the case. Different countries, different ways. It may be healthcare one place, it may be education, it may be politics, it may be civil rights. There are a number of things that fall under this category of reasons why women we need protection and empowerment. There are some specific challenges related to the workplace. There are some specific things related to career advancement and development. And so, because I've learned how to navigate those, and especially in a profession that's still male dominated, you
Right.
know, I'm empowering women. I'm sharing with them so that what I learned and how I learned how to navigate and overcome, I'm doing the same thing with that. So, it's stereotypes. Sometimes, there still can be this traditional thing that when we think about success and leadership, it's male. There's still, we talk about how we are socialized, male versus female. So, right, we encourage little boys, we encourage men to be decisive, to be go getters, to stand up and articulate and advocate for yourself. We don't encourage society. I do, but society sometimes we don't encourage women, or when a woman exhibits those things, right, she gets the side eye.
Mm.
And men are encouraged and celebrated, but women less so. She's looked at, oh, you may be competent, but you're not likable. Men can do the same thing. He's competent and likable, but she's competent but not likable. She's hard, or we get told we're too nasty, we're too negative. So
Mm.
there's that double standard.
My interpretation. Get your copy today.
Just my imagination, or is it just insanity?